Broadcasting from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, to around the globe. You're listening to Shark Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
It's time again for another tax-free episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your rockstar host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during a global pandemic. Today's guest is going to be one of the most accomplished guests we have had on, and that's pretty crazy to say if you look at all the guests we've had on this show. I'm pretty excited as he is a true rock star in the world of payroll tax. Yes, I said rock star in the world of payroll tax. In fact, he actually makes payroll tax fun. Everybody knows out there that listens to the show that my day job is ERP. That's Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. More specifically, I work with SAP Business One, which is a small to medium-sized level ERP for businesses that have really outgrown other systems like QuickBooks, and they're just looking for the next step up. Many companies, though, when they're out there, they're looking, hey, I want one single integrated solution. I think one of the areas that they kind of overlook is going to be the payroll taxes, time and attendance, job costing, and all those types of things. They don't really think about trying to automate that. And a lot of times you want a best of breed software solution for those types of areas because payroll taxes stuff, that's constantly changing. You know, you need something that's going to be a best of breed solution that you can really have confidence in because there's one person you don't want to tick off in this world, and that is the government. So you do not want to have an audit because your payroll tax is a wreck. So, those companies then, they're essentially doing things manually, or maybe they have one of those big companies out there like ADP. And those ADP companies, as far as I know, they don't even offer true tax advice. I love ADP. They're a great, great company. A lot of good services. I partner with them. But really try getting a CPA on the phone for an audit with ADP. They're going to send you to, hey, you need to go find an accountant most of the times. Again, I could be wrong with that. That's how I understand it. And, realistically, that's just not going to happen with them. And that's why I love highlighting companies like today's guest, because he is a super accomplished small business owner that knows how to take care of his clients. He gives that TLC that larger companies realistically just can't compete with. So who are we having today? Charles J. Reed. Yeah, so who is that epic fellow? Oh, so glad you asked. Charles J. Reed is a certified public accountant, CPA, U.S. Tax Court Practitioner, USTCP, member of the Internal Revenue Service Advisory Council, IRSAC, and the founder of Get Payroll. Mr. Reed's companies have provided full-service payroll services, payroll tax services, and other payroll-related services since 1991. Charles is an accomplished senior executive and entrepreneur with more than 50 years of financial leadership experience in a broad range of industries and author of 4 books. The latest one being The Payroll Book, a guide for small businesses and startups. So without further ado, let's bring Charles on in here.
Business strategy.
Charles, so glad to have you here. Welcome to Shark Bite Biz.
David, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, no problem. So on our show, we have this tradition, I know who you are. I've seen your profile. We've been chatting for a little bit here. Many of our viewers and listeners don't know who you are. So can you please tell us what's your experience, your background, what's your expertise, your company? Give us the goods on Charles Reed.
Sure, more than happy to. I'm an Iowa boy. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. Went to high school there. After high school, I worked for a little bit and then went in the United States Marine Corps. Spent 4 years, almost 2 years overseas. I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Well, you're welcome. Let's just leave it at that. I got married while I was in service. When I'd gotten back from overseas, I met a woman in Kansas City, married her. She had 5 children when I married her. We were married for 45 years until she passed.
Wow. Oh, so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a good marriage. I mean, most people don't make 45 years.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, last Saturday would have been my 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, so sad to hear that.
That was a little tough. But got married, moved down to Dallas, went to the University of North Texas, got my bachelor's and my master's, went to work for major corporations. My first one was Texas Instruments. Worked for corporations large and small for a number of years, then doing corporate work and turnarounds.
What were you doing exactly with those corporations, though? Because I imagine you weren't on the front lines of the war for them.
No, I was a financial analyst and then became an assistant controller for Trailways, doing testifying around the country. Then I went to a smaller company as a controller, did a couple of slots of that, manufacturing, import, high tech, a bunch of industries. A lot of good experience.
So, question with that then, how did you decide that you wanted to go from active military duty with the Marines to, you know what, I'm shooting guns in a war, I'd rather be an accountant?
Well, actually, the Marine Corps and I came to a parting of the ways. I was a computer programmer, systems engineer is my MOS in the Marine Corps. When I was in Vietnam, I got transferred to a combat outfit because I was young and stupid. And I couldn't be a Marine and not see combat. I mean, too many John Wayne movies.
Yeah, exactly.
So when the 4 years was up and I was married, and we just, I couldn't get out of the Marine Corps what I wanted. And so to get my education and move on in this world, I had to become a civilian again. I had no problem with a military career, but it just wasn't going to give me what I wanted. I'd done my 4 years, and I felt I'd served my country effectively.
That's excellent. So you basically had a career transformation, just kind of following your heart to go where you felt your calling was to help unlock the next level of your life where you wanted to get.
Absolutely. And I didn't realize I wanted to be an accountant until I guess I was in my senior year of college. And it just, things started to come together. And I said, hey, I like this stuff. I'm a very analytical person. I'm very detail oriented, and being a CPA seems like a natural fit. And it's a good living. I've done well, and so I said, we'll try it. And so I sat for and passed my CPA exam while I was still in college. Passed it on my first sitting, which was nice. CPA stands for can't pass again. So you only have to pass the exam once, thank heavens. I would not want to sit for it again. And so, I was a CPA for a number of years. I still am a CPA. I was a CPA in industry. And then here about 30 years ago, realized if I was going to run a corporation, it'd have to be my own, because I didn't have the political skills to rise to the top in something like Penny's or TI or whatever. I'm unwilling to stab people in the back and knock them off the ladder and this kind of thing. So I started my own company. The wife and I started it was a franchise to start with, and then the franchisor went belly up. So we just kept going, and we did accounting and payroll.
That's how it is, though. When you're an entrepreneur, I mean, you're going to have a lot more fails than wins. Sometimes you get lucky and you get it on the first shot. But I've heard so many people, it's like, I started this. Didn't work out. I started that. Didn't work out. Then I started this, and wow, that's where I struck gold.
Exactly.
Like with you,
it's getting experience, and no experience is ever wasted. So every time you do something, you learn, and it makes you better for the next experience. So that worked for us. We started the company. After a few years, I took on a partner, and then here about 8-9 years ago, I sold him the accounting business, and I just kept the payroll. And we've been growing Get Payroll ever since. So it's been a good run. I sold the accounting practice to my partner, and we just kept the payroll business and have kept going since. Get Payroll's been quite a success for us.
Oh no, that's great. So your business then, the Get Payroll, how long has it been around for?
Well, in actuality, it's been around for 30 years. We've gone through a couple of iterations. We started off as Financial Express. When the franchisor went bankrupt, we became Armark Services, which was the wife and I owned. Later on, we switched the payroll to Custom Payroll Associates, which is still the base entity. And then here a number of years ago, we added, for marketing purposes, Get Payroll. And that's kind of how we go to market these days. It seems a little more current than Custom Payroll Associates. So Get Payroll has a better feel to it. And that's what we've been going to market for the last 4, 5, 6 years. We've been Get Payroll, but it's still, as you'll see on our literature, powered by Custom Payroll Associates, and that's the formal entity.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So I don't know if you know this, but right now we're in the middle of this global pandemic thingy. Have you heard about that?
just here and there.
Right, exactly. I've got to ask you, with your company, I mean, how has this global pandemic affected Get Payroll? How has it affected your clients?
And be real honest, when they were first talking about shutting down the economy, I was frightened. I was scared it would just destroy my business. We have taken a little hit, but the vast majority of our clients have survived. We've lost 2 or 3 that just their operation just couldn't survive the shutdown and so on. A number of our restaurants have really reduced their volume of people, and so that's hurt our revenue. But most of them are still in business. They're doing takeout, they're doing social distancing, whatever, and it's pretty good. So we're down about 5% from last year, but we're also getting more new clients than we've gotten in years, because people are looking at it and saying, with all the things that are going on, the PPP, the FFRCA, the tax deferral, and so on, I don't know what to do anymore. I need an expert that can handle these things for me. And then a lot of people we're talking to right now, their systems are very obsolete, and this is said to them, we need to get current with technology and with operations. And so people are looking, in times of trouble, people look at things and say, where can we save money? Where can we cut people and outsource things? So that's helping our marketing and helping our sales substantially. We're pleased with the marketing. We're not pleased with the volume, but the whole thing is not too bad for us.
No, that's great to hear. And what you're saying is absolutely true. So for my day job, I work in ERP. Sure, you probably know what ERP is. Enterprise Resource Planning with Vision 33. I run the whole Northeast. We specialize in SAP Business One. Sure. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, because this pandemic has forced companies to have to do a digital transformation. ERP, systems like what you have, they're a big piece in helping that automation. So that way you can run as lean and as efficient as possible. Right. So how does a company like Get Payroll help in that digital transformation and that actual automation of the payroll piece?
Well, we have obviously very expensive and very complete software that we can provide to our clients for a pittance, because we provide it to thousands of clients. So you get the advantage of buying very, very high tech, expensive software for just the usage that you use every week or 2 weeks or once a month, whatever. And on top of that, you get me. Somebody who has.
Who wouldn't want you, Charles? That's enough right there.
I'm sorry. If you were to hire me full time, I go in the 6 figures. Okay. But you can call me and say, Charles, what do I do about this? I've got this problem. This has come to my attention. What do I do? Now, my people are well trained, but if they can't answer the question, they'll transfer the phone call to me. So you can get real expertise. And on top of that, we're compliance experts. So when the IRS comes to you and says, you owe money, you may or may not. The IRS makes millions of mistakes every year.
Oh, yeah.
The things you can't even believe happen. Electronic payments get misapplied. How they misapply an electronic payment is beyond me, but they do. Payments disappear. Mail doesn't get opened. Things get stapled together and filed and are never recorded. Everything you can think of that can happen with paperwork and people and equipment. The IRS has 100,000 people with a lot of obsolete technology, some of which goes back to the 1960s.
Oh, yeah.
And they got problems. Now, Chuck Reddick, the new commissioner, is working on it, but it's going to take billions of dollars to upgrade all the technology and take many years. In the meantime, and
that's one thing. Those types of transformations take a very long time. Even if the IRS is like, hey, look, we're going to get the most modern system available, built for us. By the time that it rolls out, it's pretty like halfway through its lifetime once it's active.
Well, not only that, but you've got 40, 50 years of data on people that you have to convert over to the new system.
Yeah.
Come on. We're talking, you want to talk a massive amount of data, talk about the IRS files. They dwarf everything. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
150 million plus tax returns multiplied by 50 years. It's insane.
So here's sorry, go ahead. No, I have a question for you then.
So what happens is we know how this works. I'm on the IRS Advisory Council. I talk to the people at the top. I have lunch with the commissioner, all these kinds of things. So I can do things for my clients in solving problems that most people can't do.
Oh, no, that's amazing. And I am glad that you're my friend for when I do my taxes next year. Once I do my taxes or I'm a business and, let's just say I have a small business, mom and pop shop, I don't know, in the middle of Maine. Out of nowhere with how hectic the taxes have been, payrolls have been, PPP, all the crazy stuff because of this global pandemic. What happens if I get an IRS notice? I mean, what should I do now?
Okay, if you're not using us, because if you're using us, we'll get a copy of it and solve the problem sometimes before you even get your copy. There's a few steps. First of all, you never ignore a notice. Never.
Okay.
You always answer that notice, and even if they send you the same notice 2 weeks later, answer. Okay, always answer every notice. Now, if it's a mistake, even if it's your mistake, the IRS cannot penalize you for a simple mistake. They can only penalize you for gross negligence. But of course, the IRS is the person that defines gross negligence. So you fight it, you appeal it. The first time you write a letter back to the IRS about a penalty and say, I need it abated, they're going to say no. Period. They're just going to say no. Right. So then you send the next letter and it goes to the appeals coordinator. And they'll probably say no, probably 95% of the time. Then you file for an appeals hearing. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you can get things done with the appeals officers because they're not graded on the amount of money they collect.
Right.
And Congress has pushed them to be a separate organization within the IRS, but separate and not responsible for exam or tax collection. So you have some reasonable people that are pretty well trained and pretty knowledgeable, and you talk to them and you explain your position. Okay.
Right.
But you've documented it from the beginning, and you make very sure that when you start, you put all the reasons in because they don't like you to add things later on because that looks like you're reacting to circumstances. So you've developed a case to start with, and you just pursue that case. And dealing with the IRS on a penalty is like sales. It's a whole series of no's followed by a single yes. And once you get that yes, say thank you, shut up, and go away.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. In fact, that's usually what I do with the government, period, on anything. As soon as I get that, yep, thank you, have a good day, I appreciate your help, you're the greatest. So, you know, while we're talking about those, you know, the penalties, stuff like that, I mean, what are maybe the top 2 or 3 tips that employers could use to try to avoid getting, you know, those types of IRS notices or tax penalties?
Well, obviously, the first thing, outsource your payroll.
Right.
Okay, have a professional do it. They're going to prevent most of the simple mistakes, most of the little silly things, most of the oversight. Because, you know, we employ a very expensive software. We employ people that do payroll every day, all day. They're familiar with it. They know all the ins and outs. They know when something doesn't look right. They know when something's strange. And they go, hey, wait a second. Is this what you really mean? And the client goes, oh, no. This is what I mean. Okay, great.
Right.
We move on. That solves the problems of making the mistakes, misadding things, writing down the wrong number. It makes sure that all the deposits are made on time. They're made properly. They're made to the right place, the right time, the right amount. Forms are filed on time. They don't sit on your desk. You know, you don't have a check you didn't send, all this kind of thing. And then on top of that is the compliance. So when a penalty happens, you know, we solve it. So it's, you know, why do you want to take on a task that you don't have the equipment, the expertise, or the time to do? Spend it on your business. Okay.
I run into that all the time. And what we do, I mean, like I'll get a software engineering company, or maybe they do some really cool stuff. Okay. And this is, again, with Vision 33. And you are the first person I've seen that has coffee mugs larger than me. Here's you. But I saw that. I had to call it out because usually I have ones that are like this, and people are like, why don't you just drink out of a gallon? But anyways, so we get companies, they think they're smarter, I guess, than what they are. Now, these are really smart companies, though. They're really good tech experts or whatever. Absolutely. But they're like, we don't need to pay for you. We can roll out the system by ourselves. And sometimes they get it working, and it's technically working, and it's technically good enough, but it's not optimized, and they're not getting any of the efficiency or the true automation that they would have got said they spent an extra $50,000 or $75,000 to have us do it. And there's that gap there. Is it the same with you?
Absolutely. And they're wasting their time.
Oh,
the most precious thing they have to apply to their business, okay, is time. And if you don't have the time because you're spending it on something that you can hire out for a pittance, where does that make any sense?
Right.
So 52% of American businesses outsource payroll. Okay.
Right.
The other 48% should. When you look at the cost of what it does cost to do payroll out of house, to outsource it, as compared to the time, energy, effort, money, expense, software, facilities, computers, mistakes, compliance, it is absolutely a no-brainer. You know, I outsource my IT work, though I used to be a computer programmer and systems engineer. Right. I have a guy that handles that. I have a guy that handles my phone moves and rearrangements. I have a guy that mows my lawn. I have a guy that
I can verify this.
That does my window.
For all the listeners out there, he has a guy that just does his webcams for the chat. I just met him. I think his name was Michael. He was great.
Michael, yeah. He does more than that, but I don't worry about it. I don't have to think about the technical side of doing this. I've got Michael, who's my videographer, who does all of our marketing videos and so on, and he handles all this, and he's an expert at it.
Oh, yeah.
Why do I want to learn it?
Exactly. So we're talking about the integrations and, you know, the automation, digital transformation, all that fun stuff. And one thing is that a lot of people are going for best of breed. So I have two questions on this topic. The first one would be, they'll look for best of breed, and that could be an accounting service and stuff like that. And there's a lot out there. I mean, how do you compare as far as the big dog in the room, like an ADP or something like that? What's the value with a company like you?
Okay, call the ADP switchboard and ask to speak to the president of ADP. They will tell you he does not have a phone that they can connect to. I've tried it. So you can't get that expert. Ask for a CPA at ADP. They don't have CPAs that you can talk to. They have them for their own accounting and their own taxes, but you can't talk to them. So if you have a problem, you got to call your own CPA and pay him, even though it's a payroll problem that you're paying ADP or Paychex or Gusto or any of the others for. You need a CPA to talk to or an expert. You can talk to their clerks. You can't talk to an expert. On the other hand, you call me, talk to one of my people. If they can't solve it, they'll send the call to me. I'm a certified public accountant and have been for over 40 years. I've been in the payroll business directly for 30 years.
Okay.
I'm a United States Tax Court practitioner, which allows me to represent my clients in tax court, even though I'm not an attorney.
Wow.
There's about 200 of us total in the country that have taken the exam with the U.S. Tax Court and passed it and can practice in tax court. So if you have a problem, I do this periodically, that the IRS just gets crazy sideways with you. For $60, we file a petition with the tax court, and it gets sent back to docketed appeals, where a real IRS expert that's totally independent from exam looks at it and says, oh, this is, and it goes away. 95% of all U.S. tax cases get resolved prior to court. These are things we can do that our competitors cannot do.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing value add. I just had this great gentleman on. His episode actually just came out this past Monday. It was episode 31. His name's Ed Howie. And I really love the one story that he said in there. He's like, are you a brand or are you a commodity? But even if you're a commodity, you can still be a brand. So you're thinking like like say you sell corn, and I think this is applicable to you too. Do you want to be the corn that is, 8 ounces for $1 in the canned aisle, or do you want to be in the frozen section of Wegmans with lime and cilantro selling for $3.99 because of the value add that you end up giving? And I think that's exactly what we're talking about here, that you're taking payroll tax service like that and you're giving a lot of extra personalized benefits that gives value to the customer. I mean, you're having that real personal connection with them when needed, and they can truly rely on you as a partner, not just a provider of a service.
Absolutely. We are that. We are, we don't have a call center. So you talk to live people and you can talk to the same person over and over again. We provide personal service. Oh, they do. You'll talk to the person that processes your payroll, not just some person that answers the phone. And if we see something strange, we'll call you. It's personal service. We believe in taking care of our customers. We don't take on everybody. We're not the lowest, cheapest thing in the field, but we provide a value that we think is second to none in terms of expertise and compliance. I mean, ADP, if all you want is a paycheck, ADP does a reasonably good job. So does Paychex. So does Ceridian.
Right.
But the moment you have a problem, I mean, you buy auto insurance, you buy homeowners insurance, consider Get Payroll as insurance. When there's the problem, we take care of it.
No, that's great, and I love that. So the other question then on this topic, is that a lot of companies, they do go for best of breed, and maybe CRM, that's Salesforce, or maybe they have HubSpot, or they're using Shop, and they end up using one central thing like an ERP. So this is asking about like somebody like My World. A key feature I think for the true automation is to have everything that's able to integrate, talk to each other, and stuff like that. I mean, does your service allow them to integrate with maybe, they use QuickBooks for their general financials. Maybe they have Business One. Maybe it's even, God forbid, NetSuite. But not very fond of them. But I mean, do you allow that the API integration so that way they're able to truly have that fully integrated solution, across the board where they have one single version of the truth?
Absolutely. We actually have HubSpot and use their CRM, but our software will export to QuickBooks or any other accounting system you have. It works with everything. We have integrated timekeeping. We have integrated HR services. We work with insurance providers where we can handle your workers' comp and pay it for you as you go. So every time you do a payroll, your workers' comp premium is calculated and paid. We can work with you on getting your 401k contributions with employer matches. That'll all happen automatically every pay period.
Wow,
we can
great.
fund the IRAs. We can fund the HSAs. We can fund the FSAs. We can fund all those things automatically. You never have to think about them. You never have to write an AP check. You never have to remember to write an AP check to the 401k provider that you forgot and your employees sue because you didn't get the market upswing because you didn't put the money in. And
yeah, that's great.
Boom.
Normally when I have these shows, we don't really focus on too much on the business itself. It's more because it's like, hey, look, people don't want to listen to an advertisement.
Absolutely.
Right. But the difference here, and I just want to point this out for the listeners so that they can kind of understand my thinking behind this, is that what Charles's company does is that it is helping people digitally transform and automate a lot of their business processes. And this is something that a lot of times kind of goes a little bit overlooked. So that's why, bringing him in, hearing all this great tax knowledge and stuff like that, in addition, so that you all can hear that, hey, wait a second, can automate this stuff. And you have to remember, I think people get kind of sketchy when they hear the words automation because they think, oh no, we're going to have to lose jobs or downsize people. And that's the furthest from the truth. When you automate things, basically you're saving your employees a lot of headaches, and it allows them then to actually focus on things that'll probably be driving revenue to your company instead of fixing mistakes.
Absolutely. That girl you have or guy you have doing payroll.
Yeah.
You don't have anything else for them to do that really impacts your business. They can't be collecting AR. They can't be invoicing. They can't be moving product for you. They can't be helping your salesman with their schedule. You have them doing payroll instead, and their time is spent doing a clerical task that you can outsource, and you don't have anything else for them to do. If that's the only thing they do for you, you're overpaying them to start with. So use them where that's most effective.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So, I mean, that's what I just really wanted to kind of point out for our listeners, because I think this is critical as we start going forward. As far as COVID has been present in disguise. First off, I have not seen one report in the news media over the last 8-9 months about people licking ice cream since this pandemic has started. Has you?
No.
That has completely stopped. Okay.
I did see a comment about a milkshake that Biden bought, but that's about it.
But nobody has been licking ice cream, so it stopped that. But the other thing is, it's kind of forced people to take a step back and just reevaluate. How do we do business? Why are we doing this? Are we doing it just for the sake of that's how we've always have done it? Yep. Or are we being forced to change? Is there a better way? And this is one of the big areas that I really think can help businesses run more efficiently. We do have to start getting wrapped up here. I'd like to say one of the final questions that I'd have is PPP and the PPP loans and stuff. A lot of companies got those in some form or degree. Maybe they didn't even get the full PPP loan, but they got that advanced loan or whatever. How do you maximize that loan forgiveness going forward?
Well, the economic disaster piece, which was the advanced one, that's a loan, and that you'll have to pay back. It's a low interest loan, SBA. But the PPP, there's forms out there. They're available now. Your financial institution that gave you the loan will have them. You can get it off the SBA site. There's both a simple form, if it's a simple PPP and you have the data. There's a more complex form if you have to go to it. But if you've kept up your payroll and you have a 24-week period instead of the original 8-week period, if you've kept up your payroll at all, getting a forgiveness on the PPP should not be a problem. Just fill out the forms. You can fill it in concert with whoever loaned you the money. They'll walk you through it if you have questions, or we can, because we helped a lot of our clients get their PPP loans by providing the data in the format that the banks wanted, that the SBA was insisting on. So we did a lot of that early on in June, July. A lot of that for our clients to make sure that they were able to get it. We worked with them and talked to them and helped them get those, because for some of them it was critical, particularly for, in our case, some of the restaurants would not have survived without it. They wouldn't have been able to keep their people on.
Oh, yeah.
They'd have had to default on their lease and go away. So it was tough. But the forgiveness, just the SBA forms are out there. Your bank or your institution that you borrowed from will gladly help you, or call us and go through the forms and fill them out and get the paperwork. If you're on payroll, then your payroll company can provide you the forms, the reports that you need to send in. So relatively simple.
Yeah, perfect.
One thing I don't want to forget, since we're getting close, is
go ahead.
As we say, we're good at this. I wrote the payroll book. It's 30. It's distilled into 85,000 words. It's available on Amazon. So if you got payroll questions and you can't find my phone number, which is in the book as well, $28.95 on Amazon. The payroll book. Yeah.
No, so you literally wrote the book on payroll. I love it.
Thank you. Exactly. That's my line, but.
Yeah, there you go.
You wrote the
Great
book.
minds think alike, Charles. So, that was going to be my next question. How can people get in contact with you?
www.getpayroll.com. The phone number is real simple, 972-353-0000.
Wow.
The only good thing Verizon ever did for me.
It is.
So we're on the web, books on Amazon. It's available at both Kindle and paper, or at Barnes and Nobles or other. It's on Target's book list and so on. So, but www.getpayroll.com, or email me at info@getpayroll, or my initials CJR@getpayroll. Any of those will work. But you can call the phone number and ask for me. I'm available.
Perfect. And I'll make sure that they definitely call you. So, thank you so much. If you hold on for 1 second after we wrap this up, love to chat. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a pretty fun, entertainment, and informative interview. Thank you, Charles.
My pleasure, David. Anytime.
Yep. Thanks. Cheers. Now, did I tell you that Charles made payroll tax fun? Seriously, that was incredible. As I was telling you earlier, Charles has a resume like no other. He's a CPA that can represent his clients in tax court without even being a lawyer. I mean, that's a pretty amazing achievement right there. One of about 200 or so people in the country that could do that. And some of these tips and topics we discussed were pretty critical for businesses right now at this time. the COVID tax provisions, maximizing PPP loan forgiveness, talking about what to do if you get IRS notifications, and a ton of other info and topics. This was a jam-packed episode. One of the reasons that I love chatting with Charles so much was that what I do for my day job at Vision 33 and what Charles does with GetPayroll.com, ton of synergy. We are both giving our clients all the love that they need to find the value of partnering with firms like us, and we become their growth partners, as well as we're both in the automation game. Now remember, automation isn't about taking jobs away. It is making the work lives of your employees easier. It's making your data, making your processes more streamlined, and most importantly, more accurate. And I think Charles summed it up best. Would you rather have somebody agonizing about payroll, or would you rather have that person working on something that can actually help you drive revenue, that can help you grow your business? No-brainer for most of us, but simply everything right now during COVID, I mean, this is the best time period, probably in the last 50 years, for your business to reevaluate. How are you doing things? What are your workflow processes? All that stuff to see how can you simplify it? How can you make it easier? How can you automate some of those mundane tasks that drive your employees bonkers? So yeah, that was an incredible, great interview with Charles. I loved it. So for today's video, let's have a fun topic for discussion. What kind of tax trouble have you gotten into? Discuss in the comment section below, and I'm looking forward to hear some of these stories. So before I forget, the book on payroll called The Payroll Book was literally written by Charles J. Reed. Make sure you grab it on Amazon. I'm going to have the link down below. It is definitely on my reading list. I've skimmed through it. I've read some areas, and it looks informative. It looks like it's a pretty easy read for a subject that is so complicated. So do you want to be a guest in the show? Got a good business story to tell about how your business has had to adopt and change during quarantine or this never-ending pandemic? Shoot me an email, david@sharkbitebiz.com. Believe it or not, a lot of the guests that we've had on more recently are actual listeners of the show, or their people are, and they connected with me, and that's how we got them on. That's how we ended up getting Charles on. So very last thing, remember, please smash that subscribe button. It doesn't matter if you're watching on YouTube, you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, on, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Stitcher. You can actually say, Alexa, play the Shark Bite Biz podcast, and our episodes show right up there. It's never been easier to subscribe to the show. Do me a favor, smash that subscribe button, and if you really want to do me a solid, this week I'm calling upon all our listeners with this very special episode that we have about payroll, taxes, automation, all that stuff. Do us a favor, share this episode on LinkedIn. Help other business owners, business managers, executives, young executives, directors, whoever they may be. Help them find the Shark Bite Biz podcast so that we can help them unlock this knowledge so that they can grow their businesses and also grow themselves personally. So there we go. That's the wrap. Once again, please don't forget, I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz, and I'll see you guys next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.